Catholicism wants to tell us that we are free. That sounds simple enough. You choose what you do. You are responsible for your choices. You can accept God's grace or reject it. You can cooperate with God or turn away from Him. And yet, Catholicism also tells us something else. That God knows everything. Not merely everything that has happened, not merely everything that is happening, but everything that will ever happen. Before you were born, God already knew every decision you would make, every sin, every act of charity, every prayer, every moment when you would turn toward Him, and every moment when you would turn away. And this creates a question that is much harder to escape than it first appears. If God already knows exactly what you will do, in what sense are you genuinely free to do otherwise? Imagine that tomorrow you will commit a particular sin. God knows this today. In fact, God has known it eternally. Tomorrow arrives and you commit the sin. Could you have chosen differently? If the answer is yes, then God's knowledge could have been wrong. But if God cannot be wrong, then there is only one future that can actually occur. You will commit the sin. You cannot make God's knowledge false. You cannot cause God to have been mistaken. And so the question becomes, what exactly does Catholicism mean by free will? The traditional answer is that God's knowledge does not cause your action, and that is true as far as it goes. God knowing that you will choose something is not obviously the same as God forcing you to choose it. But that doesn't solve the deeper problem. The question isn't merely, does God cause my choice? The question is, could I genuinely have chosen otherwise? Those are different questions. Suppose, for example, that I know you extremely well. I know your personality, your habits, your preferences, your circumstances. I tell you, tomorrow you will order pizza. Maybe I'm right, but you're still free not to order pizza. My prediction doesn't prevent you from changing your mind. God's knowledge, however, isn't a prediction. God doesn't look at evidence and make an educated guess about the future. Catholic theology says God's knowledge is infallible. God doesn't merely know what will happen. He knows it necessarily as the truth. So imagine God eternally knows. You will choose A. In that case, can you choose B? If you choose B, then God's eternal knowledge was false. But God's knowledge cannot be false. Therefore, you cannot choose B. And if you cannot choose B, what exactly does could have chosen otherwise mean? Catholic philosophers have developed extremely sophisticated answers to this problem. One response is that God's knowledge doesn't determine the future. Rather, God knows the future because He sees it. God exists outside of time. He doesn't wait for tomorrow to discover what you will do. He simply knows your entire life at once. This is an interesting proposal, but notice what it changes. It explains how God can know the future without causing it. It doesn't necessarily establish that the future is genuinely open. If God eternally knows that I choose A, then A is still the future that I will actually realize. I can't make God's knowledge wrong, and so the apparent freedom remains difficult to define. Perhaps Catholicism doesn't require libertarian free will. Perhaps freedom simply means acting according to your own desires rather than being externally forced. If I choose chocolate because I want chocolate, I'm free. If someone holds a gun to my head and forces me to choose chocolate, I'm not. This is a coherent concept of freedom. But then another problem appears. Where did my desires come from? My personality, my genetics, my upbringing, my environment, my experiences, my psychological tendencies, my knowledge, my ignorance, my circumstances. And ultimately, according to Catholicism, all of these exist within a universe created and sustained by God. God knows exactly how every factor will interact. God knows exactly what circumstances I will encounter. God knows exactly how I will respond to them. And God knew all of this before creating me. So when God creates me, He is not creating an unknown agent who might become anything. He already knows precisely what I will become. He knows precisely what choices I will make. He knows precisely whether I will ultimately accept or reject it. And then He creates me anyway. Catholicism also teaches that God's grace is necessary for salvation. We cannot save ourselves. We need divine assistance. So now we have another question. If salvation depends upon God's grace, and God knows from eternity who will accept that grace, why does God distribute the circumstances of human existence in such radically different ways? One person is born into a Catholic family, another is born into a Muslim family, another into a Hindu, another into an atheist family. One person encounters Christianity at the age of 5, another encounters it at 40. One person hears a convincing argument for Catholicism, another hears arguments against it their entire life. One person has a temperament naturally inclined toward religious belief, another is deeply skeptical, and God knows exactly how each person will respond. So when we talk about salvation and free will, we aren't talking about isolated choices made in a vacuum. We're talking about human beings embedded within circumstances that God knowingly created. And this raises a disturbing question. Suppose God knows that I would reject Him, not merely suspects it, knows it infallibly. And suppose that rejection results in eternal separation from God. Then God creates me anyway. Why? Catholicism may respond, because love requires freedom. But that only takes us back to the original problem. If God already knows my final decision, what exactly is the freedom accomplishing? If I could genuinely choose otherwise, God's knowledge could be mistaken. If I cannot choose otherwise, then my freedom seems to be compatible only with one predetermined future. And if God creates me knowing exactly what that future will be, then the entire structure of my existence was knowingly brought into being with that outcome already understood. Maybe there is a coherent solution. Maybe human freedom and divine foreknowledge can ultimately coexist. But this is precisely the point. Catholicism often speaks as though the matter is straightforward. God knows everything and humans are free. We are morally responsible. We can choose God or reject Him. But once you ask what these words actually mean together, the simplicity disappears. What does it mean to be free if the future is infallibly known? What does it mean to have a genuine alternative if only one future can possibly make God's knowledge true? And what does moral responsibility mean when the God who created you already knew exactly what you would become? Perhaps the problem isn't that Catholicism has no answer. Perhaps the problem is that the answer requires us to redefine freedom until it no longer resembles the freedom we originally meant. And that leaves us with a strange paradox. God knows the choice. God cannot be wrong about the choice. The choice therefore cannot fail to occur. And yet we are told that we could have chosen otherwise. Somehow, all four are supposed to be true.